The Galactic Council chambers hummed with idle chatter as the Zelthari Dominion's envoy projected Earth's image onto the central hologram. A Class 4 death world, sneered High Commander Vrax. Primitive. Divided. Weak. The gathered alien delegates murmured in agreement. Another conquest, another footnote in the Dominion's expansion. Earth's governments pleaded in vain. The United Nations' final transmission crackled across the stars. Asterisk, we are not a threat. Stand down. Asterisk, the Zelthari response was a single missile strike, obliterating Geneva. The invasion had begun. Humanity's orbital defenses lasted 17 minutes. The Zelthari fleet carved through satellites and space stations like a scythe through wheat. Cities fell within hours. Surrender was demanded. Most complied. But not all. In the ruins of London, a squad of Royal Marines dragged a wounded Zelthari scout into the shadows. In Shanghai, engineers jury-rigged plasma batteries from downed fighter drones. In a bunker beneath Cheyenne Mountain, a general opened a vault labeled Project Titanfall. The Galactic Council watched, amused. They still resist, chuckled the Grother ambassador. Admirable but futile. Then the first Zelthari dreadnought exploded. Not from orbital fire, but from a swarm of crude missiles launched from what was supposed to be a neutralized military base. The council's amusement faded. One scholar, an aged Yithrin, leaned forward. You misunderstand them, he whispered. Humans do not die quietly. The Zelthari High Command scoffed. Then they will die screaming. On Earth, the screaming had already begun, but it wasn't human. The Galactic Council's command hub buzzed with frantic energy, screens flashing red as reports poured in from the invasion fleet. High Chancellor Vrax gripped the armrests of his throne, his 4 eyes narrowing at the holographic displays. Explain this, he hissed. How are these creatures resisting? They were supposed to crumble. An aide trembled, mandibles clicking nervously. High Chancellor, our forces are encountering unexpected resistance. Human soldiers are adapting to our weaponry mid-engagement. They're using our own tech against us. Vrax's crest flared in rage. Impossible. Their species hasn't even achieved interstellar travel. But the data didn't lie. Footage played of human soldiers, outnumbered, outgunned, yet striking with terrifying precision. A squad of Marines, clad in scavenged alien armor, ambushed a battalion of elite Crothax warriors. They moved like ghosts, vanishing into ruins before reappearing with stolen plasma rifles. One human, bleeding from a shoulder wound, grinned as he fired a captured grenade launcher directly into a dropship's engine. The explosion lit up the battlefield. Then came the interrogations. A surviving Crothax officer, dragged before human commanders, spat defiance, until they showed him footage of their secret bunkers. Underground labs filled with reverse-engineered alien tech. Neural-linked combat suits. AI-piloted drones mimicking council tactics. You thought we were primitive, a human general said, voice cold. But we've been studying you for decades. Waiting. The Crothax officer's defiance crumbled. You knew we were coming. The general leaned in. We always knew. Back in orbit, the Council's fleet admiral received a new transmission. Human ships, jury-rigged with stolen FTL drives, were mobilizing. Not for defense. For attack. High Chancellor Vrax's holographic image flickered across the command deck of the last remaining dreadnought. His voice strained for the first time in centuries. All fleets, converge on Sector Omega-9. Full retreat is not an option. Annihilate the human forces before they breach our lines. Silence answered him. Where there should have been status reports from a dozen battle groups, only static hissed through the comms. The tactical display told the story. Human ships, crude but brutally effective, had cut off every escape vector. They moved in ways the Council's strategists couldn't predict. Drifting debris fields turned out to be cloaked mines. Blind jumps through asteroid belts became precision ambushes. On the surface below, what remained of the invasion force was being systematically hunted. Crothax shock troops, bred for conquest, now dug trenches like terrified conscripts. Their thermal scans showed humans moving through the ruins, not in fear but in packs. A squad here, a sniper there, always striking where the armor was weakest. Then the transmission came. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't even in the Council's formal battle cant. Just a human voice, rough with exhaustion and something darker. "You wanted a war," it said. "Now you've got one." The dreadnought sensors screamed a warning too late. The human boarding pods, improvised from salvaged Council lifeboats, slammed into the hull like bullets. By the time internal defenses activated, the breach teams were already inside. Vrox watched on internal feeds as humans poured through the corridors. They fought differently than any species the Council had ever broken. No honor duels, no ritualized combat. Just brutal, efficient butchery. A Crothax warrior swung a plasma glaive. A human shot him in the throat with a pistol, stepped over the body and kept moving. Somewhere in the ship, a human with a welding torch cut through the door to engineering. Vrox finally understood. This wasn't an invasion. This was an extermination. His second-in-command turned, eye stalks quivering. "Orders, High Chancellor." Vrox looked at the tactical display. At the last of his fleet burning in orbit. At the human ships now turning their guns toward the Council homeworlds. For the first time in his long, proud life, the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council knew fear. The human warship Vengeance hung in the black like a blade over the Council's throat. Its hull bore the scars of 100 battles, its weapons humming with stolen alien energy. On the bridge, Admiral Carter watched the last dreadnought's engines go dark. "Open a channel," he said. The screen flickered to life, revealing High Chancellor Vrox. His crest broken, his once pristine robe stained with something dark and wet. Behind him, smoke curled from shattered consoles. "You will surrender," Carter said. "Not a request. Fact." Vrox's mandibles twitched. "You don't understand what you've done. The other species, they'll see this as weakness. The galaxy will burn." A Marine in the background racked the slide on her shotgun. The sound echoed through the silent bridge. Carter leaned forward. "Let them see." The transmission cut. Across 100 worlds, the message spread faster than light. Footage of human boarding parties storming the Council flagship. Of Vrox on his knees. Of the Vengeance's guns turning toward the homeworlds. Some species panicked. Others mobilized fleets. A few, quietly, began sending envoys to Earth. They found no grand palaces. No towering spires. Just a bunker deep beneath Geneva, where a tired woman in a stained uniform slid a data pad across the table. "Terms," she said. The list was short. Brutal. Fair. Reparations. Disarmament. Seat at the table. And one final line, underlined in red. "Never again." The Crothax ambassador hissed. "You can't enforce this." The woman smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Try us." Above them, unseen but felt in every trembling hand and averted gaze, the Vengeance and her sisters kept their guns warm. The galaxy learned two truths that day. First, that humanity had never been the prey. Second, and far more terrifying, that they'd been kind to offer terms at all. Somewhere in the dark, a new transmission crackled to life. A human voice, calm as a grave. The first human ambassador to the Galactic Council arrived unarmed. This, more than anything, terrified the assembled delegates. She wore no armor, carried no visible weapons. Just a simple black uniform with Earth's blue and white insignia. The silence when she entered the chamber was thicker than neutron star matter. Ambassador Zhao took her seat at the circular table, ignoring the way the Zenthian delegates' claws tapped nervous patterns against the desk. She placed a single data crystal on the polished surface. It gleamed under the chamber lights like a threat. "Before we begin," she said, her voice perfectly modulated, "I believe you'll want to review this." The holographic display activated, showing security footage from 100 different worlds. Human operatives, some in civilian clothing, others in military gear, standing at key strategic points. Spaceports, power grids, communications hubs, all smiling at hidden cameras. The Thulian High Regent's frills flushed crimson. "This is a courtesy," Zhao finished. "Proof we could have struck anywhere at any time. That we chose not to should tell you something about our intentions." She leaned forward, elbows resting on the table. The motion made 3 different species delegates flinch. "Let's be clear. We don't want your territory. We don't care about your petty squabbles." Her fingers tapped the data crystal. "But if one more ship enters our space without invitation, if one more council species so much as looks at Earth the wrong way." The footage changed. Human ships, thousands of them, materializing in perfect formation around the council's capital world. Weapons hot, shields flaring. "We won't bother with negotiations next time." The Crothax ambassador found his voice first. "You're bluffing. You don't have the resources to." Zhao pressed a button on her wrist pad. Every screen in the chamber lit up with the same image. Earth's orbital defenses, fully operational and locked onto pre-programmed council targets. "We've been ready for this meeting for 30 years, she said. "Every war game, every simulation, every backwater colony you didn't know we had, all leading to this moment." She stood, smoothing her uniform. "The rules have changed. You don't get to decide the fate of lesser species anymore." Because there are no lesser species." As she turned to leave, the Zenthian delegate rasped, "What do you want from us?" Zhao didn't look back. "Be better." The chamber doors hissed shut behind her. Outside, her aide fell into step. "Think they got the message?" Above them, the sky was full of human warships. Zhao allowed herself a small, cold smile. "They will." The first human warship to enter Crothax Prime's atmosphere did so with its shields down and weapons powered off. The planetary defense grids locked on immediately. Thousands of plasma batteries humming with barely restrained fury, yet not a single shot was fired. The ship descended like a falling leaf, broadcasting its approach on every frequency. When the ramp lowered, only one human emerged. General Elias Carter walked alone through the ruins of Crothax High Command, his boots crunching on shattered obsidian. The surviving warlords watched from the shadows of their broken spires, their weapons trembling in clawed hands. He stopped at the center of what had once been their hall of conquest, now just another pile of smoldering rubble. "You lost," he said. No grand speech. No triumphant gloating. Just 2 words that echoed across the silent battlefield. A young Crothax warrior, his carapace still slick with combat fluids, stepped forward. "We will rebuild. We will." Carter's laugh cut him off. It wasn't cruel. Just tired. "Sure you will. And in 50 years, when your children ask why we let you live, you'll tell them it's because we're merciful." He knelt, picking up a piece of broken armor. "But we both know the truth." He tossed the fragment at the warrior's feet. "You're still here because we allow it." The words hung in the sulphurous air. Deep in the ruins, something exploded. No one flinched. Carter turned his back on them all and walked back to his ship. Above the planet, the rest of the human fleet waited. Not in attack formation. Not even fully armed. Just waiting. As Carter's ship docked with the flagship, a lieutenant handed him a datapad. "Sir, the Zenthians are requesting." "Denied. The Thulian colonies can wait." Carter stared at the tactical display. Hundreds of worlds. Thousands of species. All watching. All learning. His comm crackled. "General, the Council remnants are hailing us." On screen. The hologram showed a dozen different aliens. Some Carter recognized, others he didn't. They stood together, their postures defeated but their eyes burning with something new. Respect, fear, understanding. The Zenthian speaker bowed its massive head. "We would discuss terms." Carter smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Now," he said, "we negotiate." Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. The galaxy held its breath. And humanity, for the first time in its bloody history, didn't have to raise a single weapon. The lesson had been learned. The first human cultural attaché arrived on Zenthus with a single suitcase and a smile that showed just a little too much teeth. Her credentials identified her as Dr. Eleanor Shaw, Special Liaison for Interstellar Relations. The Zenthian border guards examined her documents with trembling claws. "You are unarmed?" the lead inspector asked, his third eye twitching. Eleanor laughed. It was a warm sound that made 3 nearby merchants faint. "Oh darling, if I needed weapons, I'd make them from your desk." She patted the scanner console affectionately. "This has enough ferric content for at least 3 decent knives." The customs hall fell silent. She breezed through security, humming to herself. Every species she passed stiffened as if touched by live wires. By the time she reached the diplomatic quarter, rumors were already spreading through the city like plasma fire. The Zenthian High Speaker received her in a chamber designed to intimidate, soaring obsidian arches, gravity fields that made uninvited guests stumble. Eleanor crossed the unstable floor in heels without breaking stride. "Your proposal," the speaker rumbled, pushing a data crystal across the table with one claw. "We have reviewed it." Eleanor didn't touch it. "And it is unusual." She smiled. "We're an unusual species." The crystal contained no threats, no demands, just requests, cultural exchanges, educational programs, joint scientific ventures. Beneath the surface, the implications were clear. Humanity wasn't just enforcing peace. They were rewriting the rules of engagement. A junior aide whispered in the speaker's earhole. "The Crothax have already accepted the human student exchange program." Eleanor's smile widened. Smart lizards. That night, in a too-small apartment provided by her hosts, Eleanor opened her suitcase. Inside, folded neatly beside her toiletries, a faded Earth flag, a packet of instant coffee, and 3 nuclear detonators. Just in case. She poured herself a drink from the Zenthian replicator, made a face at the taste, and activated the view screen. The news channel showed human children laughing in alien classrooms, human engineers working alongside Thulian architects, human medics saving Grothani lives. Eleanor raised her glass to the screen. Now the real work begins. Far above the planet, unseen but ever-present, human warships kept their orbits clean and their targeting systems idle. The galaxy was learning, not just to fear humanity, but to need them. And that, Eleanor thought as she settled in for her first night on an alien world, was so much more interesting than war. The first human restaurant opened on Crothax Prime exactly 1 standard year after the surrender. Its neon sign buzzed against the perpetual twilight, spelling out Terra's Bite in jagged human script. The Crothax food inspectors arrived wearing hazard suits. Owner Marcus Wu greeted them bare-handed, flour dusting his forearms. "Relax, fellas," he said, flipping a pancake one-handed. "If I wanted to poison you, I'd use the syrup." The lead inspector's mandibles clicked nervously. "Your ingredients." He gestured at a basket of Earth vegetables glowing faintly under UV lights. Marcus grinned. "Oh, those. Just some genetically modified carrots. Perfectly safe." He took a dramatic bite. "See." 3 inspectors fainted. The 4th started writing his will. By closing time, the line stretched 12 blocks. Crothax warriors stood shoulder to shield with Thulian merchants, all clutching numbered tickets. The scent of sizzling garlic butter made 2 Zenthians weep openly. Near the grill, a grizzled Crothax warlord stared at his plate. "This burger." His claws trembled around the bun. "You weaponized comfort food." Marcus slid a milkshake across the counter. "Strawberry. Extra whipped cream." The warlord took 1 sip and burst into tears. News feeds across the galaxy showed Crothax elites crying over mashed potatoes. Thulian aristocrats dueling for the last dumpling. A Zenthian crime lord offering his entire fleet for the secret to mac and cheese. Back in the kitchen, Marcus wiped his hands on his apron. His comm buzzed, a direct line to EarthGov. Phase 2 complete, he murmured. The voice on the other end chuckled. They'll never see it coming. Outside, a human street musician began playing jazz on a salvaged council plasma conduit. Alien children gathered, their eyes wide. One tiny Crothax hesitantly tapped claws against the rhythm. The musician winked. That's it, kid. Feel the beat. Light years away, in 100 different systems, similar scenes unfolded. Human bakeries teaching aliens to knead dough. Dance instructors demonstrating the tango. Comedy clubs where Grothani learned the art of self-deprecating humor. The warships still orbited overhead. The guns remained loaded. But no one was looking up anymore. They were too busy tasting, laughing, living. And that, Marcus thought as he flipped another burger, was how you won a galaxy without firing a shot. The Crothax warlord licked milkshake from his claws. What is your species?